into the altar. The same thing is true in a court. There is the fence and there's the gate, and only the attorneys can go through, and they're called the logos, and they go through and talk to the judge for you. And of course the judge is sitting 3 tiers high, so he can look down on you and you look up to him. The same symbols which are used in religion are used in political circles. And I am saying, it's my opinion, that what we have in America is a religio-political economic scheme based on a very ancient secret societies and fraternal orders. And until such time as we understand that concept, that things just don't happen. I mean, what was it? Franklin Roosevelt even said, anything that happens in politics, it was planned that way. And until such time as you understand that things are planned in politics and that there is a rhyme and a reason to things, we're never going to get to the bottom of this. A classic example of what I'm talking about is we here in this country, we hear politicians, the president and the local leaders saying that they can't seem to get a handle on the crime problem, the drug problem, all of the different problems that are facing us as a people, and they just can't seem to get a handle on these things. However, if you put a wrong comma on your income tax, they can get a hold on you. And if you go into the Amazon jungles, they'll follow you, and they will find you. And it may take a while, but they'll spend millions, and they will find you. And they will bring you back here, and they will deal with you in public to show the rest of the people that you can mess around with other people, but you don't mess with the money and the government, okay? So the point I'm making is that if they cannot seem to get a hold on crime, but they can get a hold on you, the question should be asked, how is it that a country 50 years ago, which was a lot less sophisticated, got a hold on Adolf Hitler, and he had a standing army all over the world? They can get a hold on the Soviet national economy and destroy peoples and nations all around the world. They can get a hold on anybody they want, except for the drug trade, except for the crime. And I'm saying that the crime and the drug trade in this country are purposely allowed to exist, and in certain cases even promoted. Because according to the ancient cults of the ancient world, there was a term that has come down to us, and many Freemasons in the audience will readily remember this. According to the ancient cults, there was something called ordo ab chaos in Latin, which meant order out of chaos. Right. So the idea was that if you can create enough chaos, that the people will be sufficiently frightened and will give to you the power and the political power to bring back law and order. Now, there was a television comedy program many years ago called Get Smart. Now, when people tell you to get smart, it's implying that you're missing something here. All right, Get Smart. You'll remember that on one side in the TV show Get Smart, on one side was chaos and the other side was control. And I'm saying that's exactly how you get control, by causing chaos. The idea is that if you're going to pull a scam on somebody, you're going to pick somebody's pocket or something, you always have a diversion. You do something to draw the person's attention while you're picking his pocket. If you're going to break out of a prison, you always have the gang fight down at the far end while the guys are crawling out the hole on the other end. The idea is you set up a diversion, you cause chaos, and out of that you can get control, because people will sufficiently frightened people will give you the power to put down these problems. Now, Adolf Hitler did this, and he worked it perfectly, and it works. A lot of people are wondering, why is it that the German people would have ever allowed Hitler to do what he did? Hitler was elected to office because of the chaos that he was doing. He was causing the chaos. The people came sufficiently frightened, and so they give him the political power to put down the trouble, because they knew he was the only guy that could put down the problems, because he was the one that was causing it. So I'm saying that the same kind of scam is being worked in this country today. We're seeing nothing but chaos and nothing but trouble, and I'm saying that it's all orchestrated, that you couldn't possibly imagine people like the President of the United States making mistakes. I mean, you hear every day what Senator so-and-so made a terrible mistake, or the United States government made a terrible mistake in Vietnam, or they made a horrible mistake on this or that. This country don't make mistakes. If they do something, they have a reason for doing it. They don't pay these people, these doctors and professional psychologists and his whole army of brains at the Vatican. I mean, well, that's a Freudian slip, probably in the Vatican too. But at the what is it? The Pentagon.
Pentagon.
Yeah, they don't pay these people big money to make mistakes. The president, when he does something, or this government does something, they know what they're doing. Now, it may not make any sense to you, but according to other plans, if you understand what's going on behind the scenes, it makes a lot of sense. And
let me interject something in here for you, Jordan, so that you'll understand. My listening audience has had 22 hours already. Their education is far beyond anybody that you normally talk to.
Right.
They understand what we're talking about. They understand the involvement of the Vatican. They understand the symbology of the mystery schools.
Right.
Now, we may have some listening audience out there who just tuned into this show, or maybe just found it a couple of shows ago. But most of my listening audience worldwide have been listening to this show since the 4th of May, 1992, and have an extensive education into all of this. So if you want to cut to the meat of the matter, these people will understand. You don't have to build up to it.
Right. Well, I mean, I talk to audiences so often, and I'm aware that when I'm talking to an audience, that people generally have not been initiated into this kind of thinking, and so that's why I try and lay a foundation for. There are a lot of occult symbols and emblems in government and religion, and I wanted to get into one in particular. The Nazis, the communists, the fascists, and all of the ancient world powers that have ever existed have used one common symbol continually, and that's the sun. Now, if you understand that the earliest history, the prehistory of the human race, goes back into the most ancient times, and God knows how far back that would be, 10, 20,000, maybe 50,000 years, I don't know. But if you go back to the earliest times of the human race, you can appreciate that the world was a very different place than what we live in today, okay? And so if you understand that it was a very cold and very fearful world at night, okay? And if you understand also that in that cold and fearful world, when the sun went down, there was a lot of fear for your life. There were a lot of predatory animals. And so the coming of the sun the next morning was always something to look forward to, that brought warmth, that brought light, and brought security. And around that concept grew a whole religio-political philosophy of the coming of the sun, God's sun, the light of the world. And it has been used by the ancient Egyptians, all the mystery schools, and of course you probably know it was referred to as Baal worship at one time. Baal was the sun, God's sun, the light of the world. And, the whole concept in the ancient world was that he had 12 helpers, which were the 12 signs of the zodiac, or the 12 months of the year. And, of course, and he died, of course, with the crown of thorns, like the Statue of Liberty has the crown of thorns. It's the corona, or the sun rays. And when we begin to see all of these connections, and of course in the spring of the year, the sun which had died in winter had passed over from the death of winter into the new life of spring. So in the old Semitic world, they celebrated the Passover. And we even say that today when someone dies, they passed on, or they passed away, or they passed over.
Right.
And so we get the old symbolism out of Egypt of the sun dying in the winter and passing over to the new life in spring. And so in the beginning of spring, we had the Passover. Is an interesting thing too about the sun is that the ancient world realized that on the December 22nd, which was the winter solstice, they noticed something interesting on the sundials. And of course the sundials being round, they could each degree for each day. They noticed that on the 22nd the sun did not move. On the 22nd it stayed on the sundial on the same degree. On the 23rd it stayed on the same degree. It didn't move any further south, and it didn't start back north. On the 24th, it was still in the same degree on the sundial. It didn't move. So they said, the ancient Egyptians said, anything that was moving and is now not moving is dead. So therefore they said God's son died and was in his tomb or dead for 3 days. Then on December 25th, anything that was dead and in his grave and not moving for 3 days and now begins to move back to the northern hemisphere, it moved its first degree, so on December 25th, they said God's Son is born on December 25th.
Now, in the real world, let's clarify something for a lot of people who are listening out there. You're not talking anything about Christmas. You're not talking about what Christians